Hello and welcome to Keeping It Young podcast, conversations about marriage, family, and ministry life. I'm Dave.
And I'm Bethlie.
And we are the Youngs.
And we're so glad you've joined us today. I hope your holiday season is off to a good start.
I hope so too, because we are just a few weeks away from Christmas, our favorite time of the year.
Yes.
And I hope it's yours as well. We've got our insides all decorated. Christmas trees are up.
Our insides.
Our inside of our house is all decorated. And you know what? Our insides should be decorated too.
That's right.
Because this is a time of joy and celebration. And then our outside of our house is decorated. We finally got lights on the outside and so excited about that. We just love this time of year and we like to celebrate Christmas. And I hope you do as well. And here in a couple of weeks, we have a Christmas podcast just to encourage you and strengthen you, and hope you look forward to that. In the meantime, we are finishing up a couple of more books we're going to look at in this series on books that can help and why. And Bethlie and I, we just know that we live in a culture that, you know, we are running along so fast that all of our information comes in sound bites. Our information comes from social media, Instagram influencers, and so forth. And the problem with those is that you get little nuggets of truth here and there. You get little challenges, but a great majority of the time, those are just simply designed to get likes and shares.
Right.
And the more attention they get for those who make a living at it, they're really, you know, even though if the product they're selling is good or what they're saying is true, the whole heart behind it is I got to get likes and followers and make money. And one of the things that Bethlie and I are just aware of in our culture is that we need help. There's no doubt about it. There's just a ton of things happening in our culture that's negative towards the family, towards marriage, towards grandchildren. And there's yet a ton of resources available. The problem is they take time.
Right.
It takes time to go to a conference. It takes time to sit down and listen to a teaching, hour-long teaching on a particular subject. And it certainly takes time to read a book. But I'm telling you, friends, the books that Bethlie and I have read about marriage, about the bedroom, about parenting, about raising, children, about the issues that are all important in a family, communication, and all of that. The more we've read, the greater we have been helped by the time to read.
Yes.
And our culture has forgotten that. So here's one of the things we've been trying to tell you this fall is that there's resources available for every situation you're facing. You've just got to find it and take the time to read it.
Yes.
And that's been one of the reasons why we're doing this book.
And
this
maybe
series.
Be open to heed it if it
Read
is biblical truth.
That's rhyming
Yes.
even. Read it and heed it and
Yes.
then seed it. Let it grow in your life.
There we go.
I'll quit. We could feed it. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting.
So the book that we didn't quite finish in our podcast, was that before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving?
That was right after Thanksgiving.
Was In the Bride Wore White, a book review that we're doing. In the Bride Wore White, 7 Secrets to Sexual Purity is by Dana Gresh. And we had covered the author. We talked about her. She's a wife and a mom and a grandma. Her and her husband, Bob, are the founders of Pure Freedom Ministries. Their ministry gives a lot of resources for couples who have struggled with pornography. I would say that Dana Gresh's heart, at least the way it comes out, is to help tween girls establish this lifestyle of purity before they ever get to a place where they are tempted by the pornography of our culture or by the loose morals of our culture. And so she has these True Girl conferences that she does for moms and tween girls. I know that she is in the Revive Our Hearts ministry. They are getting ready to launch a whole new Bible app just for teen girls, because girls spend so much time on their phones anyway. And so they're trying to get something into their hands that points them to truth and points them to truth and points them to truth. So, and The Bride Wore White, her book, is all about purity and how girls can maintain purity and what to do if they have stumbled and struggled in their purity.
And I really just pausing here to say, I really appreciate when we use technology, when those in our movement of Christianity use technology and use it wisely.
Yes.
And, technology can get such a bad rap because there's so many negative things about technology. But when we use it wisely, it can be a great tool given to us by God.
Right.
And so there's a great opportunity there to use that app to help our children. So what an opportunity. The point of the book we talked about, and Bethlie just referred to that, the whole point was that this is about purity and pursuing purity, understanding all the issues surrounding it, and then applying them to your life and helping your children to apply them to their life in such a way that it brings success.
Yes.
And that's the point. The chapters, we kind of just went through those. Let's just touch those briefly. She talks about deciding to live a lifestyle of purity. She deals with quite a few of the lies that are spread in relation to purity. She talks about how to break off a sinful relationship in 3 steps. That's a chapter. And then, covers these 7 secrets to sexual purity. And those are laid out as, a process. Purity is a process. Purity dreams of its future. Purity is governed by its value. And she even kind of breaks that one down into discovering your value in God's eyes and your value in the eyes of others. And
Yes.
both of those are important. Purity speaks boldly. Purity loves its creator at any cost. Purity embraces wise guidance. And purity watches burning flames. And she has this little acrostic, finding more to help you.
Yes.
And so this is just an outline of the chapters here. I liked in the book, as I was looking through this book, each chapter begins with a testimony. And I enjoyed reading those. I didn't read all of those testimonies, but those are kind of give you the heart of the chapter right up
Yes.
front.
Yes.
And it also every chapter begins with scripture. And then each chapter begins with a reflection prompt that allows the reader to journal some ways that the Lord is convicting or encouraging them. So the book is laid out very well.
It is.
And Bethlie has used it with our daughter, Charity, and it was very profitable. It opened the door for good conversations as well as for good direction. So then let's jump in today, and as we conclude this book, this examination of this book, let's just talk about, I think you listed here four sections as you're dealing with the chapters. So let's just jump in and start with the first section. That's chapters 2 through 3 and 4. So why did those stand out to you?
Well, she begins with letting girls know that Satan's lies haven't changed since the very beginning. He has lies that he told Eve and that then spread to Adam. And both Adam and Eve were taken in by his lies. And then those same lies he uses today, lies like, did God really say that? In the Garden of Eden, he said, yea, hath God said. And so today he will say, does God really mean that? Or does the Bible really say that to girls or to teenagers? He will say, God is keeping something good from you. When teens have been taught that sexuality is a beautiful and sacred thing, but it is meant only for marriage, Satan will whisper in their ear, well, God must be keeping something good from you. And then he might say to them, a little bit won't hurt you. Being alone with your boyfriend just for this a little bit of time, that won't hurt you. Nothing's going to happen. What's going to happen? And then after the aftermath of some kind of struggle or failure in a girl's life, he will lie to them and say, well, now that you've fallen, God has no use for you. And then you feel like a failure. And so Dana Gresh lays out in these 3 chapters just the lies that he might tell you and then some truth to combat it. Because one of the things she says, and I love that she says this to the girls, there is no debating with the devil. You shouldn't be entering into a conversation. Maybe. Well, you might have a point there, but there's no debating with him because he's just going to continue to come back with his wicked lies. What she says girls need to know is the truth. And once you know the truth, you can just shut him down.
That's interesting because in a culture like ours, where the sexual issues of our day are so prominent and so aggressive and so accepted. You young ladies that are listening to our podcast and you moms and dads that listen, we must, in our culture, we must take steps to do what is right because it's not going to be an automatic victory. This is one of those areas where we in our culture are hit at from every angle. We are bombarded. Every time you turn on television, every time you go on social media, if your kids are around other teenagers, it's just we are living in a culture of so many lies we have to on purpose determine to do what's right, to fight it with truth, to plant the truth, to teach the truth, to embrace the truth. I was thinking about this series here in this book. I've been preaching in our chapels with our high school students here in Poplar Bluff. I've been preaching through the book of Proverbs, and we've only made it to chapter 8. But the whole point of the first 8 chapters is, the world is wrong. Folly is wrong. Wickedness is wrong. The devil is attacking. There's evil in the world. And we need the wisdom to take steps towards righteousness. We need to heed truth and have commandments and seek counsel and embrace the truth and live the truth and go overboard about the truth. And I think that's the whole point she's making here.
And we do need to be intentional. You can't wait until your child is 15 or 16 or 17 to all of a sudden say, oh, wait, are you interested in someone? Oh, are you wanting to go do something with someone of the opposite sex? Oh, well, we need to have a talk. Well, you should be intentional about this and probably earlier than you think. This book is written for, I would say, high school girls, college age girls, but moms, you should be instilling truth in your little girls when they are elementary age, when they are in junior high school. And so you have to be intentional. And
dads, you that are listening as fathers, can I just say to you, your sons need to be taught. And your sons have to be taught how to treat a lady with purity and how to handle their sexual drives and sexual passions as a young man. Mm-hmm. And the benefits and beauty of waiting for God's plan and following God's plan. This is not just for guys, for moms and daughters here. This is Dad's lessons for me and you to learn, so we can help our daughters, but also help our sons.
Well, and I would say it's very important for a father to give truth from that male perspective, because girls don't know how guys think. Even married women.
Would it be safe to say that men don't know how women think?
Yes, but God made us so differently and beautifully, so that when we are married, everything works together. If we are following the Lord and His plan, everything is just beautiful. But ladies, even married ladies, don't we scratch our heads sometimes at our husbands and think, oh, how is he thinking that? You've been sick for 3 days and you've barely gotten a shower and you look like you've just risen from the dead, and your husband's like, ooh, you're feeling better? Do you want to kiss a little bit? And you're like, what? And so our girls...
I was sitting here. That little statement you just made looked like I just rose from the dead. I'm picturing this.
Well,
that's quite a vivid imagery there.
Sick for a few days, you don't look the greatest. And anyway, our girls need to know that, yes, boys are interested in getting to know them in a physical way, and they need to know what guys they need to look for. Guys that should appeal to them, guys that are interested in godliness. And I think if they have a godly dad speaking into their life appropriately, obviously. But I know in our Charity's life, and even in our Abigail's life, and she's been married for several years now, but before she was married, when David spoke truth into their life, as far as modesty or as far as relationships with young men, it goes a long way. And it's a beautiful thing.
Sure it is. Here's a quote by Elizabeth Elliot. And she says, there is a dullness, monotony, sheer boredom in all of life when virginity and purity are no longer protected and prized. By trying to grab fulfillment everywhere, it is found nowhere. And that does seem like the culture we live in.
Yes.
Let's move on here so we don't run out of time today. Mm-hmm. The first part here Bethlie wanted to point out was about Satan's lies. Chapter 6 is another chapter that stood out, and it's about purity being a process. Talk about that just for a moment.
Well, she starts right out by saying that all of us are like, well, stay pure till you're married. Make sure you stay pure till you're married. And the whole purity culture, which has its strengths and weaknesses, and she talks about that a little bit. But she points out none of us are even born pure. We're all born sinners. We are born innocent. And that innocence can be taken away from us in a way that God never intended for it to be taken away from us. What we can do once we know Christ as our Savior is we can maintain a pure lifestyle. So I thought that was a very interesting thing for her to point out. And it's very true. According to the Word of God, we are born sinners. She also points out that lust will rear its ugly head. She actually calls it the beast of lust. And even when you feel like as a Christian, that is not a problem in my life. You know, you might be thinking, I walk in victory and everything's good and everything's fine. And I don't struggle with that. There may, in a weak moment, maybe you're home alone, maybe you're tired, maybe you're depressed about something, whatever, then Satan will tempt you in the area of lust. So she talks about how the beast of lust will over and over again.
And can I just interject there? I heard someone say once that lust is a desire to have something you cannot rightly have.
Yes.
And that definition has always helped me to think through what lust means.
Mm-hmm. It will just come up in your face all the time. But that in and of itself is not the sin. It's a chance to develop purity by talking to God, by talking to a trusted, godly friend, and making a fast, strategic exit. And she talks about having an exit plan. What do you do if you're faced with lust? You have to talk to the Lord. You need to reach out to the Lord. You need to reach out to a godly friend or a godly mentor, and then you need to plan an exit.
That's good. That's a good chapter. How about the chapter 7 is about envisioning a godly husband?
This was one of Charity's favorite chapters because the author encourages the girls to dream about and pray for the man that God has for them. So she even has a whole list, a place where you can list. This is what I would love to see in the man that God has for me. And obviously God can, as our girls mature, we know this as moms, as our girls mature, their tastes will mature, hopefully their spirituality will mature, and things will become important to them that weren't important to them before. But Charity just really enjoyed that. And it also encourages girls to dream beyond the physical. Yes, I know when I was praying for David, he wasn't even saved when I first started praying for my husband, David. So I find that just amazing all the time. And I did pray for a man who had dark curly hair and blue eyes and dimples. And the Lord answered that prayer.
She prayed for a guy that was ruggedly handsome,
yes.
Stallion in every way. And just amazing how God answered her prayers. Just amazing.
Yes. But the Lord went far and above. I mean, I did pray that he would be godly, and I prayed that he would be a leader to me. And I prayed that he would serve the Lord with all of his heart, and the Lord answered that far and above. And Charity enjoyed just dreaming about, writing down, okay, I would love this in a husband someday, but also we were able to talk about the godly characteristics that she should be praying for and looking for.
Yeah, I mean, what a simple idea.
Right.
That purity, one of the ways we strive for purity is to think through in advance. What am I looking for? Mm-hmm. What do I want in the husband that I marry? And it also presupposes something that's not as much a given in our culture, and that is that we should be teaching our young ladies to be married.
Yes.
And our sons. We should want our children to be married and happily married and have a family. And in a culture like ours where increasingly more and more have no desire for marriage, this is one of the side things here in the book. It's a reminder that we need to be pursuing marriage with our children, towards
yes.
Getting our children towards marriage. How about the final chapters? You put together chapters 8 through 12. And your statement here is that it gives practical and biblical tools to maintain purity, including some awesome dating advice.
Yes.
So talk about this chapter a little bit before we run out of time today.
Well, woven throughout the book, Dana shares her and Bob's love story, how that they met, how that they dated, how that they broke up, how that they started dating again, how they eventually became engaged and got married.
They broke up, huh?
They did.
Who would do that?
Well, I could start sharing our story. But
well, no time for that. So let's move on.
What she does throughout that is how the Lord actually was leading them, because they knew immediately when they first met and started dating that they had chemistry, and their relationship was just taking off really, really quickly. But they also knew that God had plans for them. And one of those plans was for them to finish college. They both were in a Christian college, and they wanted to finish, and they wanted to pursue what God had for them. And they weren't sure that their relationship was what God had for them at that time. And so both of them reluctantly, tearfully, they admitted, you know what? I don't think this is helping us. It's not helping us pursue what God has for us right now. And I don't know. I don't know if you are in my future or not. I hope so. But I think that we just need to call it quits. And so they did. So she gives practical and biblical tools for that. She talks about how they got back together. But some of those biblical tools would be self-control and self-denial. She
explains how to how to activate those in your life, and
yes,
and how to apply those to the situation of purity and dating and all that.
Yes. She talks about how that they maintained different standards of where they would go together, and not being alone together, and different standards of touching or not touching.
So what else here does she see?
She talked about modesty in dress and conduct.
That's a hard word right there, isn't it? Modesty.
Yes, it is. But she talked about how that it's very important for a Christian young lady to show herself as a modest girl, the way she dresses, the way she conducts herself, especially in front of young men, but all the time, really. If you're modest out in the world, but you aren't really a modest person, then you're not really modest. But if you have a modest heart, and then you show that on the outside. And she talked about why that's important and why it's biblical.
Yeah, and it is so beautiful, so ridiculed in our culture.
Yes,
but so very important.
It is.
And what are the other ones?
She talked about having the right kind of conversations. She called places you should not go in conversation, she called them foul lines. Like you don't want to go out of bounds. And there are some things that girls, especially in our culture, it's almost like nothing is off limits, that you can just talk about whatever. And you know what? We come from a very open family. Our family, we talk about so much stuff in our family. But Charity and I were even having this conversation just the other day about just because we can discuss it in our family doesn't mean that it's an open or appropriate conversation for you to be having with boys in the youth group. So she talks about that and covers that in her book. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Some of those conversations couples do need to have as they get closer to marriage.
And she does make that point.
She does.
That foul lines are for protection. There comes a point in which you can cross certain lines because it's necessary as you're beginning to work towards the process of we are getting married.
Yes.
Yes.
But if you discuss things like that, it brings you into an intimacy early in a relationship that you don't need to have.
All right. What are the final two tools that she offers there?
She talks about being sure that you and the one you're interested in love God most above all else. Is he pursuing his relationship with God? Are you pursuing your relationship with God? Is there anything that's keeping either one of you from doing what God would have you to do or being close to the Lord? And then she talks about, and this is a very important chapter, being open to wise counsel, particularly from your parents.
And obviously that is written to a Christian in a Christian worldview. Mm-hmm. There's some presupposing there that is a Christian family, Christian parents.
True.
And so there, but that is kind of a given. It's almost assumed that, though you may be listening and you don't have Christian parents. That's why the Bible offers us things like the Titus 2 woman who can come into your life and help you. That's why God gives pastors and Sunday school teachers and other mentors in our life who can come alongside and help if we don't have a parent there to help us.
Yes.
But for the typical Christian family, moms and dads should be able to speak into their lives. And you young ladies, look for that counsel from your parents and heed it. What an important book.
It is. And I have one young lady that's on my heart, and I pray for her, and I know that wise people in her life, older ladies that she interacts with every day, and probably even her mother, have given her wise counsel. And, sometimes when you feel like you're in love, you're like, I'm good. I'm so good. Everything's fine. What could go wrong? And sin always leads to destruction and sadness. And it is just more hurtful than young ladies even realize. So moms, build that relationship with your young lady so that you have that opportunity to speak truth into her life.
Well, before we have to sign off today, just a reminder, this book is entitled And the Bride Wore White, and it's 7 Secrets to Sexual Purity by Dana Gresh. And you'll find at the end of the book that the book finishes with God's beautiful and sacred plan for sexuality, lays that out. Mm-hmm. And then there's a series of letters in the appendix, which are very worth buying the book to read those letters.
Yes.
And they cover things like, what about sexual abuse? What about pornography? How do we handle fatherlessness? It talks about things like abortion and singleness.
Yes.
Just addresses some issues briefly, but biblically and wisely and powerfully. This is a dynamite book, and we recommend it to you very highly. We actually, in this series, are going to just cover one more book. We've covered, some for children. We've covered some for marriage, some for family, raising children. We've talked a little bit about here for young ladies. And one more book we'll talk a little bit about is a book about masculinity. So we'll kind of close with a challenge about how we can help our sons in a culture like ours. And we hope you've enjoyed this fall series as we've walked through it, and hope that you'll take advantage and take our challenge to buy good books and invest in them. They will help your life. Well, we're out of time today, and this is Keeping It Young podcast. Thank you so much for listening, being a part of our podcast family. And remember, if we can serve you, help you in any way at all, please reach out to us and let us know. And we do our best to get to every one of your questions and every one of your texts, emails, comments, and we read them and do our best to reply to them. Thanks for joining us today. Remember, whatever else you do this week, make sure that you serve the Lord with gladness.